Paul, you talked about the political parties, but what you didn't talk about was the auditing profession, who are essentially the people to whom we largely look to do whatever. And from my perspective, and it's from a very personal experience of 3 of the people not KPMG, you had a lot of familiarity with how that business worked. And before you even got there, you knew you weren't getting an independent report. So fundamentally, most of us rely on private and public companies, on auditors.
I think you've raised an incredibly important point. And I wouldn't just call it auditors, I'd call it professional services as a whole. He who pays the piper calls the tune. And, having worked in an audit firm, by the way, I didn't fit in there either because I always told the clients the truth. And but it's a real problem. Auditing, legal advice, give me your watch and I've sat in rooms with auditors where I've said there's a statutory duty to report because there's an investor protection problem, and I've heard them Pharisee their way into the answer they first thought of. I can't stand it. And, it's such a shame because they have such a powerful position in society. Professional services is one of the big problems, because they want to just tell the client what they want to hear. How many advisors do you really find that have the decency? I'll bet you the Presbyterian Mutual Society had advisors that came in who probably knew what was wrong but never told them because they thought they might lose a fee. It's a very, very important question, and somebody's got to write quite a lot. Actually, one of the biggest causes of the financial crisis was the Financial Reporting Council's international accounting standards, which allowed them to mark to market, which is a technical term. Basically, they allowed them to put on their balance sheets a thing, an asset, at a value, when in fact there was a volatility associated with that asset between 50% up and 50% down. Well, if you're in your home life, do you do that with your assets? Do you say, oh, well, that share in that, diesel-powered nuns company, oh, well, I'm not going to rely on that for my... But, in your own heart that that's not a place, and yet they put it on their balance sheets as if it was worth something. Honestly, in the space of a few months, assets on the balance sheet of banks, subprime loans. What kind of expression is that? Subprime? Worthless, I'd call them. Went from being worth $1.25 in the dollar to 5 cents in the dollar. That's what mark to market. And the chief financial officer of a bank, a very big one, said to me, I think one of the biggest causes was accounting standards designed for a different purpose. That meant that he knew. When he was the chief financial officer, he knew that his balance sheet was not robust. And yet he just followed the rules blindly of the accounting standards. And guess who conspired with the accounting standards people? The banks. They all sat in the room and said, right, well, how can we report the highest profits possible? Well, I tell you what, we'll make these things worth something else. I mean, honestly, it's dreadful. Truth? Forget it.